Hi there, I'm Scott Wakefield, lead pastor at First Christian Church of Greene County, and I'm here today with
Brandon Gloyd, the area director of Greene Young Life.
Abby Gloyd, the staff associate of Greene Young Life.
And we're going to have a coffee convo. Awkward pause, look at camera, smile. All right. Coffee Convos is an opportunity for us to have some good coffee or water. I think you have water. Do you have water?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
All right.
I thought we weren't going to tell the people that. I thought this is,
I'm verifying that I have coffee.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay. We have coffee.
There's coffee.
So it is a coffee convo.
Yeah, perfect.
Coffee Convos is an opportunity to have some good coffee and water with some good friends to hear about the work of God in their lives. So make sure you jump into the comments. Let us know you're here. Give us some good questions. Help us get to find out about how Brandon and Abby are doing the Lord's work among youth here in Greene County. So jump in and be a part of the convo. Thanks for being here. So, y'all, welcome to Coffee Convos.
Thank you.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having us.
Pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for coming. So, that's yummy.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with personal history. Who are you? Give us the lowdown. How'd you get to today? Where are you from? Hobbies, growing up. Where are you in the birth order? Tell us all of your personality profiles, your deepest, darkest secrets.
Got it.
Easy.
Got it.
Within about 60 seconds each.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You want me to
Easy.
go first?
Yeah.
Easy.
Why don't you go first?
Grew up in Knoxville, Tennessee, but really Powell, Tennessee is where I'm from. Have one blood sister, a couple stepsisters.
That's right.
And
yes.
I'm in the middle.
Okay.
The baby of my mom and my sister, though, and the only boy.
Cool.
So grew up there. That's where I went to high school. And
You are one boy among
lots of girls.
3 girls.
3 girls, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
5
At
at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah. That's
Really?
important
5
to
at
know.
one point. Yeah.
That's
So
important.
important to know.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
A lot of girls.
Yeah, so that's where I grew up. My grandfather is a pastor. So I have been around the Christian faith my whole life.
Yeah.
And then got involved in Young Life when I was in high school. I didn't love it, actually, whenever I first got involved. But then went to a camp and it stole my heart.
And that was the switch.
That was it, yeah. When I first went to a club, it wasn't for me in the 8th grade. I felt embarrassed and awkward, and I was like, I hate this.
Why?
Junior year. I don't know.
For you then?
It was a bring your favorite 8th grader night, and I went with my stepsister. And there was just like a bunch of little 8th graders, me and my friends just standing around.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And when I look back, they like wanted me to sing a song, and I was like, no.
Wow.
Or play a game, and it was like, not interested. I don't know, yeah. But then got involved later in high school, and then I went to UT and was a young life leader there. And
So that's when you first started officially becoming a part of Young Life?
yeah. I went to UT, and I was a young life leader there for 4 years, volunteer all through college.
Yeah, cool.
Didn't want to be a young life leader. So it's a real pattern in my life. I just was going to focus on school. I went to meet people, and I loved the community. So I was like, yeah, I'll just do that.
Yeah.
Didn't want to be, was for 4 years. And then my senior year of college, I wanted to go and write. I was a journalism major and write in a big city and live that big city life, and then turn around and go to law school a couple years later after I got tired of that.
Yeah.
And did not want to go on Young Life
That was
staff.
the plan, to go
That
to
was
law
the plan,
school.
yep. And then went on Young Life staff. And so here I am. Well, not yet, but you know.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm Abby Gloyd, and I am from Charlotte. I don't know why I'm talking to the camera. I'll talk to you.
That's okay. Hey.
I'm from Charlotte,
Yeah.
and I grew up around Charlotte, and I am the middle child in the birth order.
Okay. Of 3
I
then?
am,
Yeah.
yes, I have an older sister who's
Okay.
pregnant right now with
Nice.
the first grandbaby.
Awesome.
And then a younger brother, and he goes to ETSU.
Huh.
Yeah, he's a junior, and he's awesome. And I am a pretty typical middle child. I don't know if did you say what your
No, I forgot.
personality sign is? Okay.
We'll go there next.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'll wait then. I grew up around, my grandfather actually was also a pastor.
That's right. We have had this conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I grew up around the Christian faith too.
Yeah.
And I also hated Young Life in high school, which is really fun. I went a couple times, but I was a part of, I was a real big like rebel child in high school. And so like a typical middle child. And so I like partied a lot. And so I went a couple times to Young Life with my friends that I like partied with.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like funny now because people will look at us and say like, if anyone ever has like a problem with Young Life or like a high school kid's like, I don't know if Young Life's for me, Brandon and I are like, no, literally we get it. Like,
Yeah,
we've been there.
it.
Like, don't feel like it'll just suck you in. Don't worry. But my senior year met the Lord and decided like, the first time I really clearly remember the Lord speaking to me was when I had someone tell me, like, tour Carson Newman. And I think I just wanted to kind of get out of that reputation, like, get out of that, like, rebel child reputation, get out of that, like, lifestyle, kind of break away from my friend group, which now that I am an adult working with high school kids, I am like, that was so bold. Like, I'm like, how did I decide to do that? But
yeah, that is pretty radical.
Yeah, like
Senior?
it was just senior year, kind of breaking away from my friend group, breaking away from everyone I grew up with. But I really think the Lord was just pulling me out of everything I was kind of stuck in. And so I toured Carson Newman, again, like from Charlotte, had never been to like a small Tennessee country town before, had nothing like to compare it to. And I like was on that tour and felt the Lord say like, this is it. This is where you're going. So I went to Carson Newman. Mm-hmm. I actually pulled out my application from all other colleges because I was like, I just don't want to be tempted. Like I'm applying to private Christian. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And like, I was honestly afraid that if my dad saw a state school versus private Christian school, then a different decision might be made. Yeah. But I went to Carson Newman, and from there I started getting involved with Young Life because I had friends. I met the first Christian friends I'd ever met at Carson Newman. No one I'd ever been friends with for my entire life claimed to know the Lord.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I think I had like one friend, but she was older than me, and she like graduated around the time I was meeting the Lord. Yeah. So it's just different. Yeah. And so I met friends that knew the Lord, and they like loved Young Life and got me involved. And then through there, the Young Life area directors in Jefferson City started mentoring me, and then Brandon came on staff.
And so that's how you guys met, I assume.
That's how we met. Yes. He was the team leader. I was on the team.
And you were on the team.
It's like a little...
And now you're Team Gloyd.
Uh-huh. We don't recommend that, nor would we promote that.
I was going to say, probably against policy, maybe.
Yeah. Against a couple rules, but again, rebel child. Work, so it ended up, the rest is history. We got married, and a week later, when we got back from our honeymoon, got a call that said, what do you think about Greenville, Tennessee?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A week after you...
I mean, we got home from our honeymoon. Yeah. Yes. Like, we got home from our honeymoon around 2 a.m. Mm-hmm. And we had, if you know anything about Christmas time with Young Life, you deliver wreaths. Mm-hmm. There's a big wreath sale that's like part of our fundraising. Mm-hmm. Buy wreaths, everyone.
They'll be available soon for you to purchase.
Next December.
To help support.
And we were delivering wreaths, and Brandon got a call from our regional director, Steve Chesney, who's awesome. Yeah. And Scott was like, hey, I think you need to go. Scott McMinn, our area director, said, I think you need to go deliver these next wreaths with Brandon. And I thought I was in trouble because I had just sat down. And I was like, no, Scott, I'll do some work. Like, I'll get up and help. And turns out, Brandon told me we just got a call about Greenville. Yeah. And here we were.
And here you are. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you've been here now a few years total?
A year and a half.
2.
I mean, who really knows with the pandemic?
We're in our second year.
Okay, I feel like pandemic time is like dog years. So it's like I was in here a year and a half.
Maybe that's why I was overestimating you a bit.
Yeah.
It feels like forever ago when we first met.
That's right.
So you guys met doing Young Life at Carson Newman? Mm-hmm. Or was it? Mm-hmm. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So when did you graduate?
I graduated from UT in 2014. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When did you graduate?
2018.
2018. Okay. Yeah. So you are older.
I am. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what I was the staff.
So that was the verboten.
That's right. Yeah. I was the staff person over Morristown East, and she was on our Young Life team.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And so. That was the forbidden.
So how would you handle that now if that happened in Greenville, Tennessee? Just kidding. Let's not touch that. What's the next question we can make totally tense for us? So how's about married life, the two of you? What's your like? How are you similar? How are you different? What are you learning about yourself, about
that
life?
Good one. Yeah.
Whatever, however you want to answer those 17 questions is actually
perfect. Well, and I'll answer the question I didn't answer the first time. In personality-wise, I don't ever really remember what my Myers-Briggs is. I think like INFJ, ENFJ, something
think
NFJ.
You're an introvert, though.
Well, who knows?
Maybe.
According to them, I could be anything. But my Enneagram is a 9. I'm a 9, if you're familiar with the Enneagram.
I was once.
Once upon a time. Yeah.
I know I'm a 1-wing 2.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Perfectionist.
Like hardcore perfectionist.
Right.
Yeah.
And then whatever.
The helper side.
I'm a helper side perfectionist.
Look at that.
Whatever that means.
Yeah.
I know what the perfectionist part means.
Yes. So I'm a 9, which is the peacemaker.
Peacemaker.
Yeah. My ultimate goal in almost all situations is to feel calm and peaceful. And for those around me.
For all of us.
Yes. Because if you're upset,
healthy.
it makes me upset.
Yes.
You know? And so it's like it is a very selfless number, but really if you like get to the nitty gritty, super selfish. You know, it's like
I need
just
everybody here to remain calm.
Exactly.
For my sake, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that also mean you're a control freak? Inner control freak?
Yeah.
Because you need a homeostasis.
That is true.
Is that relational or is that
yes.
It's okay to be control-ish.
Yeah. I don't know. I think typically it would probably be more under like not so obvious maybe. You know, I tend to let people kind of like do what they need to do. And I'm a real go with the flow. That helps, you know, if we go out to eat and you're like, hey, I want Aubrey's. Even if I had it 2 hours ago, it's like, I don't want anything else but that. You know, like, it doesn't matter. That
works out
to me.
great.
I was going to say, now we can talk about that dynamic. So, so when where to eat comes up in that kind of circumstance,
I never care.
You don't care, and you're like, I know what I want.
I always know where I want to eat.
Yeah.
You always.
No.
Are you more definitive generally between the two of you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say 99% of the time I know exactly how I feel about something, exactly what I think of it, exactly what I want. Like, I make my mind up pretty quickly and stick with it pretty easily. But I do like to be told, like, a big thing for me in relationships in my life is if I matter to you, then something you will do for me is let me know when I'm wrong. Because I can be so, like, I make my mind up so easily and I can just stick with that it, like, really hurts me in relationships.
It's a trajectory you stay on.
Yeah, like, or if I said, like, just to use this example, like if I was like, I love Aubrey's and I want to eat it every night. If you secretly started to hate me because I always want Aubrey's,
you need to know.
Instead of just telling me like, hey, I really want to go to Zaxby's tonight. Like, that would hurt me if I found out later.
If you found out that,
Yes, because I can make decisions, but I don't want to, I don't need that decision. I can just tell you what I want if you don't know what you want.
So, are you a natural extrovert?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you would say maybe you are a natural introvert, but...
Yeah, I've learned to play the game. I think normally...
So this is a game to you.
Yeah, exactly. I think naturally I would be a little more introverted than extroverted. But that's hard to be in ministry, especially in ministry with high school kids.
Yeah.
It's hard to be an introvert. So, yeah.
I mean, Young Life 101 is... relationships with kids where they are all the time.
Yeah.
Does that I mean, it obviously excites and energizes you all day long. Is that harder for you in some sense because that can sometimes be draining? What?
It can be. It's weird how we are though, where she, is she's pretty extroverted and she's like fast and hard in the sense of like she meets people quickly, and as soon as she meets them, people love them. You'll love her. It's like they're magnetized. Where I'm slower, it is.
Sure, that's okay. Yeah.
But I can be with somebody all day long, and that's okay for me.
And are you patient?
Yeah.
And is that part of the peacemaker, or?
I think that's probably just part of Brandon. He is very slow. I always say when we were engaged, I would describe us as a river, and Brandon is the slow and steady and calm part of the river.
Yeah.
And I am the river rapids all the time. I'm intense and feel it. Everything I feel it with all of me.
Yeah.
So with high school kids, I would say when I meet them, I am I will schedule to meet with 8 to 10 people a day.
Right.
That's not realistic all the time, but I can meet with everyone for 3 hours and have a deep conversation and really get to the heart of it and all the things, and then I will come home and be I want to shut my door, I want to hang out, I want to just
way more
calm.
like you naturally.
Yes.
I've had to learn to be
but Brandon can sit with people all day. Brandon could sit and someone could come to our house, and after 2 hours I'm I'll see
I'm out.
Yeah, and Brandon is just he can just sit with you. Mm-hmm. So I think he definitely has that. I have had to learn, we have kind of had to learn from each other, boundaries for our marriage on maybe more so his end on, hey, I can't have people here all the time. I need us to have a line of, this is when it's time for them to go.
Yeah.
And I have learned from him, the gift of just presence and sitting and listening and stillness with people. So
cool.
Yeah.
Good stuff. What else have you learned about yourselves, marriage, differences, similarities? Go wherever you want with that.
Yeah. Well, I think even to begin with, our marriage is different because we work together. And
from day one.
Yeah.
Since we met.
Before we ever dating, married. So, and I don't think we ever realized how different that typically is.
Than most marriages.
Yeah, because you hear married people say all the time, oh my gosh, you work with your spouse, I could never do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're always
and you're I work with my spouse, I live with my spouse, and there's not a time when I'm not doing ministry and
Yeah, and the Young Life ministry we came from in Jefferson City, they're married and are both on Young Life staff. It's rare, so it's funny.
Is it rare?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
okay.
I think just in East Tennessee, really
there's
our area and their area, and Oak Ridge.
Yeah.
This is really one of the only places. But if we went to Georgia to go on Young Life staff, we couldn't both work for Young Life.
Yeah, they definitely don't advise it.
It's different in some in divisions.
Different parts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's interesting, and I think we've had to learn a lot there of work-life separation for sure, and that they do bleed over, and when to stop that and start that, and make sure that our dinner conversations aren't I had this conversation with this kid today, and it's that's great. What'd you see in the news? Let's talk about something else.
What percentage of the time do you talk about something other than ministry?
Honestly, I think more. We talk about it a lot. I don't want to
talk about ministry a lot.
We do talk about it a lot.
What percentage not?
Oh,
I feel it's hard to say because we just talk a lot.
Yeah.
We're together a lot, so it's we just talk all, even if I am with Brandon, if we have a staff meeting in the morning and then we meet with someone together and then we're planning things or getting something ready and then I go meet with someone, I'm calling him on my ride home.
Mm-hmm.
That is one thing we have the gift of working together is we just talk all the time. I don't have anything that I don't tell him. Anything.
Right. Yeah. That's funny.
And it's not me saying this is the philosophy for a great marriage. I do think we have a great marriage. I also think we just are lucky that we like to talk to each other. I mean, and I'm thankful that that's something that has been true since day one, and that we really worked to maintain and keep true in marriage.
Cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm ready.
How has COVID impacted? How has COVID impacted Young Life here in Greene County? Any ways the local church can serve y'all? How has COVID? I keep trying to jump to the next word. How has COVID impacted your ministry here in Greene County? In any ways the local church can serve y'all? In case anybody out there in internet world is wondering, we as a church support them. So that's one way, financially.
Yeah.
What else can we do, and how has COVID impacted your ministry? It's impacted ours significantly.
Mm-hmm.
It's limited what you can do and how often and with whom and where and all that.
Yeah.
How has that affected y'all?
It's impacted us a lot. Similar things whenever everything shut down. We couldn't have Young Off Club, which is what we'd have for, anybody and everybody, all high school kids to come and hang out. And
it's a cornerstone thing.
Yeah, it's...
Do you explain Young Life?
I was going to say,
Yeah.
Somewhere here soon I was going to say, tell us a little bit about what Young Life regularly does. Tell us about what club is, et cetera. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to do that now or later?
Go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Young Off Club would be something we have every week, every Monday night. We have our club space on Church Street. But we gather together, leaders and high school kids, and we sing songs, both secular and Christian. We play games that are silly and wild and have skits and... Am I missing something? And then at the end of it, we talk about Jesus. A raffle sometimes, yeah.
Win a prize.
Yeah.
It's normally just candy.
Honestly, it's my favorite candy. And then I hope that the kid who wins it doesn't want it. But that rarely happens.
Never happens.
And then at the end, a young off leader stands up and talks about Jesus for 10 to 14 minutes. Anything over 14, you start to lose a little bit of attention. But anything before 10, it's like, did you say anything?
Yeah.
So that's kind of our motto, where we sit in that. So that's what a Young Off Club is, and open to anybody and everybody, and want people to feel comfortable.
What time does it start?
7:37.
Mm-hmm.
What time's it end-ish?
It's about an hour or so, 8:30, roughly.
And kids hang
8:40.
out for a long time after, so
There's a long afterglow, I know.
Oh, yeah.
Typically.
People play Foursquare and hang out. So, that stuff had to come to a screeching halt.
Yeah.
But then we would still get to have the privilege of hanging out with kids one-on-one a lot, or really small groups. And we would have what's called campaigners, which is
tell us
our
what campaigners
campaigners is a deeper dive into Scripture with a young off leader.
It's a Bible study.
Yeah.
So
It's a
a small
Bible study.
group, Bible study, all of the things.
Yeah. Couldn't recall why they call it campaigners, if I'm being honest.
I've never known. I
don't remember. They told me. You know?
I've heard
Come
this.
on.
Yeah, well, I know
Tell us
part
the
of
history.
it is Young Life is really good at marketing, honestly, and finding the ways to make things stick out to people's minds. So it's the 4 C's of Young Life are club, camping, contact work, which is hanging out with kids and spending time with them face-to-face, one-on-one, or with a small group. And then club, camping, contact work, campaigners.
Yeah.
So when we are teaching leaders and we have a blueprint, they really are great. I would say one of my favorite parts of Young Life staff is the training that they give us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so...
Young Life is always doing training.
Oh, yeah.
It's a
I mean,
big
just
deal all the time.
I am never I feel like I never get exhausted with the word or the work or anything, because it's almost like it's at least once a year annually that I go to training and they just it just comes alive again. So I think it's just to all be on the same page and kind of all our arrows pointing in the same direction.
Yeah.
But I think campaigners just goes with that. It's just part of the
We're going to
blueprint. It's like
retrain your history
732.
of campaigners.
Yeah. So we get
Just
to
so
do
you
it.
know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My hair director.
So, we got to do a lot of that, which was fun. So, honestly, it was kind of funny. Our ministry was certainly impacted, especially meeting new kids. That was it was already hard being new to town and trying to meet new kids, but then also not being able to do that at all. That was tough.
Yeah.
But it did feel like we got to, our relationships with kids we already knew got way deeper. Yeah.
I was wondering if it felt a little bit like we're having to start over.
Yeah.
We have in some ways, for sure.
Yeah.
Even as a church.
Yeah.
But y'all are relatively new here in Young Life, Greene County. Not that there wasn't years of ministry before that. But it's always a transition with new folks. Kids and leaders getting to know you. I wondered if it meant feeling like new kids, you're having to that well feels a little dry, and that at the same time with existing relationships it was a little deeper. Is that kind of what has gone on some? You can say no, I'm wrong. That's fine.
Well, I feel like I can't speak for you. I feel like I'd be curious your answer to this in general.
Okay.
But I think for me, it almost feels like a pause. Like we've gotten to build like a really firm foundation.
Yeah.
You know, because we got here and it was just like, we fell in love with Greenville, and we like really love Greenville, which I feel like is just so kind of the Lord to put us in a town and put, you know, just all the pieces that go into this. Because
You mean to move to the middle of nowhere, East Tennessee, and actually like it?
Like when they called me and said like, what do you think of Greenville? I literally said, I don't think of Greenville. Like I don't know anything about it.
We drove in well, of course it's been, 18 and a half years ago, or whatever. I can't remember. You begin to forget how many years.
Yeah.
And your kids' ages and names. So we're driving in, and we were just living in Chicago, and my wife goes, where's the Chili's? And
Target.
So we start naming
Where's the
things.
Target?
Yeah. And she's like, I don't know about this. But we have fallen in love with the middle of nowhere, East Tennessee, Greene County, and are buying plots for our burial eventually. But the first summer we were here, I would talk to some friends from Chicago, and they would say, "Where are you?" And are you close to Nashville? I'm like, no, it's like 5 hours away.
Yeah,
because they have no conception.
The mountains,
Yeah.
right there.
The mountains, right? And that's about it.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah. Sorry,
But
go
I
ahead.
feel no, you're great. I feel like when we moved here, it was just a constant sprint of like,
Yes.
I want to meet everyone. I want to know, like not just meet, but know everyone. I want to know them by name. I want to know who they are. I want to know like what's our life going to look like here. How do we, we were freshly married. It's like, how do we do this? Like, how do I like learn this new job? And then I'm like 24 years old throwing a banquet for the first time. How do I fundraise this much money for a mission that I deeply believe in, but these people don't know me yet, and I'm asking them for a lot of money? You know, like there were so many things that it was just so overwhelming that I like really feel so thankful in some ways for this part of COVID. Obviously, it's like there's so many horrible, dark parts of it. Yeah. But I feel so thankful that it was a pause for us, because I think had we kept running at such a pace, I think we would have looked back or looked up in 5 years and said like, how did we get here? Like, why did we even get here? Like, why are we doing these things this way? Do we even know anymore? Yeah. And now we have this foundation of like, I know what works, and I know who I am in this job, and I know what I like I know what works for us. I know how we work well together. I know for Greene Young Life, it's allowed us to really think through so many things that I don't think
or allowed you to build those disciplines, margins, etc., in ways that are manageable, healthy, long-term.
Yes. I definitely think we are healthy in ministry a lot sooner than we would have been had we not had such a big pause. So that is obviously the gift of a lifetime.
That's good stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah. But would you say that's the same, or do you?
Yeah, I think so. And I think the way we run at stuff is different anyway, you know? So I probably could have ignored it longer without that pause, and just like put my head down to do the next thing that is on the docket. But I do. I think pretty much align with that. That it was so helpful to us to be brand new, doing a brand new job, and brand new in just so many different ways, and then to get the ability to sit down for a second and say like, where are we going, and have the time to find it, instead of worrying about.
You get in the hamster wheel of ministry.
Yeah.
And you find yourself in your mid-40s going, how did I get here?
Yeah.
For example. You
don't know anything about
that. Questions. How is Young Life different than or similar to a church youth group?
That's a great question.
Yeah. And then we've got some other ones like, favorite Greenville restaurant and musicians and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
How is Young Life different than or similar to a church youth group?
That's a really good question. I like that a lot. We're not a church, so that would probably be the first thing is...
big number one.
Yeah, Young Life is
Great place
a church.
to start.
And Young Life started...
You don't have elders?
Yeah,
No.
Right.
No.
We're the elders and... no.
Yeah.
No.
And Young Life started with a guy, actually it was a bunch of older women who... one woman lived across the street from a high school in Texas, and the guy who founded, Jim Rayburn, went to this little town in Texas to do church ministry, and somehow met this woman, I think, at the church, and she just was like, man, I have been praying for these high school kids that I live across the street from for years, me and the ladies that are in my Bible study. Mm-hmm. What about the ones who don't go to church?
Yeah.
And it just kind of took off from there. He was like, oh yeah, and so I think that is different. We try to seek the most far out, lost and disinterested.
Yeah.
Kids who wouldn't dare darken the doors of a church.
Yeah.
For whatever reason that may be. And so that's who we try to reach, and we go anywhere in between. Kids who also go to church, every time the doors are open, while also kids who don't. And so that's kind of our focus is all kids really, but that's where it started, and I would say that is a difference. Not that one is more welcome at one than the other,
right? But
sometimes there's that people feel weird to walk into a church building, and so Young Life is kind of a pair ministry in that sense, and at some point we introduce them to Jesus in the same way, and all that kind, especially here at FCC. I think they look really similar to what we do. Some differences, but
I was going to say, in some churches, youth ministry can be sort of provincial and insular. In some churches, it can be, hey, we're looking for those French kids too. Yeah, and it's an environment that welcomes that, and we're sort of in between those two, but it just depends on the church too.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And I would say Young Life is such, and I would say a lot of youth groups are like this too. It's such they tell you it's a seed planting ministry. There is nothing glamorous or flashy about what we do. I tell high school kids and college kids about Jesus all the time. And my hope and prayer that I am on my knees constantly, we are on our knees constantly praying for, is that they will hear the gospel and choose Jesus Christ. Yeah. And then my next hope is join a church. I want you to go to a church. I don't look to be your pastor. I don't look to be your we're not hosting church in our living room. We are telling everyone we can possibly tell about Jesus. Yeah. And then my hope is our prayer, and the best model for it is the next thing. Find a church. And it's great having churches like this in town where it's as soon as we came here, y'all had open arms towards us. Yeah. And so it's great to have a church where it's when I meet college kids, where should I go to church? Oh, go to FCC. I know them. We trust them. Yeah. Or and it's such an easy, when it's done at its best, which I feel we get to do with y'all, it's hand in hand with such a trusting relationship and the same heartbeat for the gospel and for Jesus. So,
is the seed planting without seeing much fruit bearing in the long term? Not that you don't begin to develop relationships in long term, because you do, and there becomes this alumni thing eventually in a lot of local Young Life ministries. Yeah. Is that frustrating, difficult? That's one thing that I think I've begun to notice. We've been here almost 20 years now, and I'm doing weddings for kids who were in my youth group, and and they're having kids, and it's multiple generational kind of stuff that's more long term in ways where you see some of that. When I was in youth ministry, though, in a local church, and the first church I was at, the high school's in the backyard, and so we were automatically we're doing this Young Life style. Yeah. And one thing that's difficult is the people who are doing this ministry who are staying often feel in the long term, I don't know if isolated is the right word, but it's hard to be that person who is the steady when other folks are just kind of churning through because they're growing up and they're moving on. And that seed planting can be difficult. because it's important. I'm not saying it's not important.
Sure.
I'm saying it's not good.
Yeah.
It's super important work, but you don't always get to see that.
Yeah.
Because there's a kid who comes and hears it, and they don't respond at all.
Mm-hmm.
They go off to school, they get married. Someday down the road, they go, you know what? I remember that one time, or that one person, that one leader who really cared about me. And then something else, they hear the word from somewhere else, and boom, it takes root.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. It is really tough. It can be really heartbreaking sometimes, if you, I don't know. Yeah, but it is. It's really hard, I think, sometimes. And then, on the flip side is also really joyful. They, once you go on Young Life staff, especially if you work for a couple of years for Young Life, they kind of tell you hey, you can't change your number now. I don't know why you would, but you definitely can't now, because it is
your
a
number's
pretty
in your cell phone number.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a pretty common thing that you get a phone call 5, 10, 15 years, after you talk to a kid that's like, hey, you probably don't remember me. I graduated in 09.
Yes.
Thank you, and it's just oh gosh, and so it's really, there are those things that you don't always get to see. Sometimes you get to hear, and which is cool, but it can be hard. But then also it's where we get a lot of leaders, as that seed planting will a lot of grow, and even if they don't go to college, specifically for us in Tusculum, Greenville, or Tusculum, Walter State, if they don't go to college here and don't lead, if they go to Knoxville, and that's still a way it's spreading, or Greenville, South Carolina, it's oh, those are high school kids who are being impacted that wouldn't have otherwise, maybe. So
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite Greenville restaurant?
Local, Greenville restaurant.
That should be so easy for you.
Yes, local Greenville restaurant. I guess that means that you can't get elsewhere.
What do you mean so easy for me?
Well, Brandon eats the Tannery every single week.
Oh, that is so true.
Tannery's good stuff.
He loves that.
They know my
love the
order,
Tannery too.
and that is. I even called it in one day, and she said, "Jumbo sweet tea." Yes. No, of course. She knew by my
I feel
voice.
local.
Yeah,
We're
that's a good
super
feeling
local.
for her to know
Thank
my
you,
order.
COVID.
Tannery, yeah.
Tannery's good stuff.
I love it.
Yeah. I would say that's mine too.
Oh, come on.
I go
Casa
to Casa
Guerrero.
Yeah, Casa Guerrero. I feel like Tannery is his spot with high school kids or leaders, and
Okay.
Casa Guerrero has been mine. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Favorite musician that got their start in Young Life? Apparently there's a whole category of it. This person says, mine is Bebo Norman. I did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
My favorite, personally, that I don't know if Tim Halpern really, he could count, I guess.
Definitely count.
But he was on American Idol and does stuff. But Drew and Ellie Holcomb, they got their start there. And I don't know them personally, or as well. I mean, you meet them at camps and stuff like that. But they're fantastic. I really enjoy them. I like them.
We were on assignment this summer with our friend Chappie, and he is a musician in Nashville, and I love him. He just released an EP, I think. So everyone go look up Chappie.
What's an EP?
I don't know.
Such a good
I really
question.
don't know. I just
just kidding.
what I know
I
is
just know
it's a
it's a
small
short album. Yeah.
Yeah. What is an album? I mean,
Anyone
what do
feel
you
free to
even
comment.
say?
Let us know.
What do you like to do to relax and to rest?
My go-to is to read, because I really do love to read. But if we're being honest,
Why the laugh? We'll come back to that.
We didn't want to be a TV couple, and we just are. We can
We watch a lot
You had
of
this
TV.
this idea of we will not be
No.
screen people.
Yeah.
We are such screen people.
Our brains
Whatever
have melted.
bad effect,
Yeah.
negative effect of blue light you can get, we surely will
Yeah.
get it.
Sometimes Abby will wear her blue light glasses when we watch it, but
Really?
yeah.
It's like a vibe. Actually, I have great vision, so it's just like when I want to feel
That's good.
like glasses. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that
we
why
do
you were laughing? Because you end up being
No,
screen people? or-
I'm laughing because I always joke around. Like, I am just, as you can tell, like, I want to talk, I want to hang out, I want to like have fun all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so Brandon, like you can imagine if it's just, we moved to Greenville and we didn't have any friends here.
Mm-hmm.
So like you can imagine how often I let him read, which is little to never. Like, I just was like, please don't
So
pick up a book. I have
goals.
no
You've got
one to
goals.
talk to
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. That's funny.
Yeah.
At what point do you try to connect Young Life kids to a local church? You talked about that some.
Any point, every point. As soon as possible,
All-
go to
all-
church.
All the points.
Yeah.
We have somebody apparently defining EP for us.
Oh, good.
Oh, let's hear it.
An extended play or a mini album is a musical recording that contains more tracks than a single, but is usually unqualified for a full album or LP.
Okay.
I guess an LP would be at least 9 or 10-ish.
Okay. Yeah.
From back in my days of collecting.
I've never
tapes.
heard of an LP.
New to you?
That's awesome. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Did you know that phones used to go like this? Okay.
I missed this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So, thinking back over the course of your lives, who have been significant people for you in your walk with Jesus?
I would say for me, really my grandfather really introduced me to it, but I would say the people who helped me walk in it, a guy named Tim Teague.
Okay.
My Young Life leader did. His name was Tom Wicklund, but a guy named Tim Teague who's on Young Life staff and was back then Knoxville, now he's Maryville. And then when I went on Young Life staff, Scott and Brooke McMinn, they just know it back and forth. I don't know. They just are some of those people who have the gift, and really the gift is they've just been doing it a long time, I think, but yeah,
I've
it's
never
like,
wavered.
yeah,
So.
when they open their mouth and are talking about who God is, you're just like, everyone pays attention because they just know him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I would say Brooke has been mine, Brooke and Scott both, and Brooke was really a great friend and mentor to me all through college. And Scott actually married us.
Yeah.
I've heard you all talk about them before.
Yeah, they're just really amazing. And then actually I would say in ministry, since going in ministry, I am like a huge advocate for counseling, and I have an awesome Christian counselor that has really, I feel like, walked with me through all of the transitions, and I would say is like a huge reason why I feel so like healthy in this stage doing this. So
Cool.
yeah.
I have said for a long time that if you're in ministry, you should probably also be in counseling.
Yeah.
I
Whether
say
you're
she's-
aware of it or not, you probably need to.
I call her my most expensive best friend. So
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah. And I've even thought, like, if you're in ministry, that should be part of the benefits package. I mean, it should come with it should be a part of what is just assumed thing.
Yeah.
So, what for y'all makes for good leadership? And what have you seen in others that are examples of those things? And things that you want to emulate and become and continue to be that are marks of good leaders. I'm always interested to hear that kind of an answer from people who are in ministry.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. We are even talking about this because I actually you can hear Brooke and Scott are phenomenal leaders to us and have been such like a marker in our life. But I was talking to Brooke earlier this week, and there's just days you don't feel good at your job when you're in ministry because no one tells you really how to do it, which is, I think, why it's so intimidating for people to like get started in it. And we're just two young married people trying to like love high school kids. So, but we were talking about it, and she was just like, don't waver in what you're doing. And I feel like that sounds like such easy advice, but it's also like, I think a great leader, like, you've been here for 20 years. you know, like you stick with it. You read the gospel, you read scripture, you follow Jesus, you claim the truth, and you just don't waver. When it's hard, when it's ugly, you just stick with it and don't turn around, you know? So to me, I have been thinking about that a lot this week. Yeah. It's just
the faithfulness.
Yeah, just stick with it. Keep going. Like, keep pressing forward. Keep claiming the truth. Keep grabbing onto the truth. All of the things, and you just keep walking forward in that. Mm-hmm. And somewhere along the way, I think you probably look like them, or like you, or like all of these like heroes of the faith to us. And really, it's like you have just stuck with Jesus for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is like what changes everything for anyone who does it. Yeah. So.
Good stuff.
Yeah. I'd say, I think the first thing that popped in my mind was being honest, you know, about like, just like honest about who you are, what you're doing, what's hard, what's good.
Not just what you're communicating in words.
Yeah, and do that too. But I think that especially in ministry for us, there is such a pressure to, you're the one people come to with their problems. You don't get to have your problems, you know, and people like forget that.
You are not allowed.
Yeah, yes. You have to be cool, you know, you don't get to. So I think it's like being honest of like, I'm not well, you know, and I think about that of like, if people, you know, more people in leadership were willing to be like, to say that instead of trying to suck it up and move on, what would look different and who would still be there and who's versus who's not. Yeah, I feel like I have learned that it's like, that's huge to be able to say like, I can't handle this, or I can, or I need a break, I need a second, to ask for help.
Yeah, which is not mutually exclusive with faithfulness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good word.
I like that phrase. I haven't been saying that lately, but I used to say that. It's a good word. It is a good word. What makes for a good young life leader?
Oh my gosh. Literally, if you're asking this, please just sign up and be a life leader first off.
I won't let him. He's one of our elders.
No.
He's already got way too many things to do.
Just text us.
Makes sense.
Gosh, a good young life leader. I would say
someone who shows up.
Someone love Jesus. And, you know, I don't expect anyone to know how to love Jesus perfectly, but just be with other people who are loving Jesus and just hang out with high school kids and don't waver in that, you know, as horrible and awkward and weird as it can be. They're really not scary. Most of them are just sad, you know, like, honestly. Yeah. So I would say...
I'm sure most of the adults coming in initially may feel more scared than the kids themselves.
Yes,
but you begin to find they are no different than how I have felt going in.
Yeah.
Those kids super badly need...
I mean, it's like, are you willing to like sit with someone and actually see them? Are you willing to like take time and like they may answer your question with one word for the first 3 times you hang out, like, and it's so uncomfortable.
I've been there so many times, and
literally.
They're just sitting there going,
I go to Marshalls. When
yourself.
That happens, I take high school girls to Marshalls, and I'm like, let's just walk around. We'll talk about candles for a little bit, and somewhere along the way, I know about your breakup. You know, like.
Yeah.
It's just what happens. But I would just say, if you love the Lord and you are willing to like love the Lord actively with your hands and your heart and your feet and your mind and all the things and your wallet, then come be a young life leader.
Yeah.
Because 5 coffees a week can get expensive when you're paying for someone else's. But
yes, it does sometimes. That's good stuff. Do you need to be young, current, and cool to relate to the kids?
Never. That is, you do feel like it, and you certainly will pick it up, and then you will catch some flack for not being, you know. And I feel like we're around high school kids all the time, and even still we'll be like, what did you say?
I feel so lame all the time.
Yeah. But they like it. They think it's funny, I think.
Yeah.
So there definitely is a pressure, and it feels like if you're young, hip, and cool, then they'll like you more. Yeah. But also to a certain extent, it's like, why are you acting like that?
Yeah.
You're an adult.
They love Tom Wright, who's a judge in this town.
Yeah.
And he's
kind of a goober in some ways.
He cares less than anyone I know.
Yeah.
Like, truly.
About what others are thinking of him.
He is like,
whatever.
Yeah.
He is.
You
It's
just
so
really
funny. They love it.
Yeah. He comes to Young Life Club wearing a top hat, which he looks so cool in. The rest of us are like, anyone who's an adult, we're like, we want to be you so badly.
Yes.
You're amazing. But
I know exactly the top hat about which you speak.
he's the best. Yes.
A couple more questions here to finish out. Apparently, Slash from Guns N' Roses got his start in Young Life.
That is not
can't
true.
be true.
I don't know.
That's definitely not
hey,
true.
The internet has spoken, I think.
Okay.
Cool if so, but
I see planning ministry indeed.
I don't know anything about him, so
I don't really.
who knows?
I hung out with some high school kids today and was just so burdened by the heavy things they carry. Thank you for caring for them and pointing them to Jesus. Thank you, Gloyds, for your service here in Greenville. We love you guys. That's 3 different people there jumping in. Oh,
So
good job,
sweet.
FCCers.
Nice.
So, what can we and others in Greene County and Greenville, not just churches, but what can the kingdom do that would be helpful for y'all?
I think, trying to think about that earlier, of really just support. And I don't think that always has to be financial,
Sure.
I think that it looks like support and prayer, and that's how Young Life as a ministry, like I said earlier, got started. So to pray for Young Life and to pray for teenagers at Greenville High School and the county schools, and pray for Young Life leaders and pray for more, or pray to be one, because I think that really is what it comes to. Is it feels like there are so many teenagers in our county that need to be reached, need to hear the gospel, and so it's like, let's get them. That's like that founder always used to say, like, every kid deserves to hear the gospel, and we believe that and want that to be true here. So I think that's probably the best way to support us in that way.
Yeah.
You want to add to that?
Well, I was going to say, number one, just like, don't forget about high school kids. Just remember what it's like to be in high school. It's terrible. It is so hard. So, just remember them and pray for them and let your heart break for them. Lean into that when it does. And then second, honestly, a really tangible one is right now we are currently trying to have an office space downtown or somewhere around there, because we want people to see our faces and trust us. We want to be part of the fabric of Greenville.
Yeah.
So if you know of anything or hear of anything, we almost had one and then it didn't work out.
Yeah, I heard that you almost did.
Yeah, we
right
got
there.
close and then just kind of fell through. I think they're actually starting to do things with that part of downtown, which is so fun. But we really want to be accessible to the community. And there are only so many ways in a small town that you can do that. And I think a really easy, tangible one is we want to have an office space where people can kind of point to and say oh yeah, we'll meet you there. Or oh, you want to know about Young, or you have to drop this off or pick this up, or you have a question, go, the Gloyds are downtown working.
Yeah.
So, or wherever it may be. We really, our heartbeat is just craving for it to be downtown, I would say. Yeah. But that is a really tangible one. If you know of anything, let us know.
Yeah,
so
good stuff. Thanks
thank you for asking that.
Coming, y'all.
Yeah, it's fun.
Let me pray for y'all.
Lord, we're grateful for the Gloyds. We're grateful that you brought Brandon and Abby together, that this is a ministry that they are living, and that you have called them to love on high school kids in our area. We're grateful you brought them to us. We're grateful for the opportunity to help support them as a congregation. We ask that you would expand their reach and ministry into the lives of people who need to know about Jesus, and that kids would fall in love with what you've done for us on the cross because of their lives, because of their faithfulness, because of their honesty, because of the ways in which you have put them together and positioned them to do that among us here. So give them clarity and give them success in that, and give them an office space. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for your questions. Good
Seriously.
stuff.
Thanks, everyone.